Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today we're going to do yet another take on a bug-out bag. In this case, a long-term bug-out bag for very long bug-out to a bug-out location. That's a lot of bug-outs. Alright, but before we do that, if you're interested in detective stories, this is the first of an 11-part crime series that I wrote. It's called Bloody Crosses. It's in Dutch. If you're interested, look down in the description. So, why would I do another video about a bug-out bag? I've done like 2 of these, but that's actually the point, because a bug-out bag should be made to the situation. Sometimes in my life the situations change, my plans change, so I adapt my bug-out bag to that. It's not something that you leave somewhere in the corner casting dust and don't put anything new in it, or don't check regularly to what's perhaps going over date. So that's something that you need to watch out for, something that you need to train, because usually I often go training with the bug-out bag so I can train my leg muscles to be accustomed to walking long distances with carrying a heavy load on my hip. So that's something that you need to do on a regular basis. To know your tools, you can know how to use them best. So what I shall unpack this, and let's see through the items one by one what I put into this to help me on a long bug out. Well, as you can see, this is one of the first things that I leave with my bug out bag, and that is some sort of general purpose jacket. In this case, a greatcoat made out of wool. Wool is a great material because even when it gets wet, it will keep their insulating properties. I always tell a story about the time I went to hiking and there was a flood. Everything was wet, but a wool kept me warm even though I was soaking wet in a very cold night. So I stick to it. Wool is a good material. But what is this? I know it's not been rolled up properly because I have done it in a hurry after sewing a new button on it. But this is a great coat made out of wool, and there are certain. I made a video about this, so if you're interested about the properties of this forgotten prepper item, a woolen great long coat, you can look it up in one of my videos. But there are 2 things how you can carry this. You can place it around your bug-out bag. Imagine that it's like this, and you strap it around so you don't have to carry it when it's very hot, or when you wear some other type of coat that is perhaps more rain resisting. But something like this, it's like the Russian army, they used to carry. Yeah, I know it's a little bit bad folded up, but usually it's very slimmer like this, that you can carry it like this all over your body if you knot it a little bit further. So that way you can carry it around your body and your bug-out bag if you don't fuck it up with the rolling up. I will open it so you can see for yourself how big this thing is. It's a little bit heavier perhaps, but I would not choose another coat. Why, you will see within a second. We'll carry it. As you can see, this is a very long coat, but that's the point. It's very long, it even keeps my legs warm. If you perhaps can see how long this is, as you can see, it goes down about this much over the ground. So if you put this on, I will put this on very quickly because I do not know how much time it will take to make this video. Then this goes up, goes in around, and even this part you can knot, so your whole neck is warm, your whole body is warm, and that's actually the point. It's full wool, it's very warm in every climate. If you get wet, like from sweating, the wool will take the sweat up, it will evaporate, and it will still keep you warm even though when it gets wet by sweat or by rain. And in a case of emergency, I would say you can leave some shelter. You will see that I will have a woolen blanket in this, but I can take the woolen blanket out and use this as a sort of improvised sleeping bag, which is a way that the Soviet army used this kind of long coat during improvised shelters where it could get very cold and moist. So yeah, this is actually a great coat for in a lot of winter, a lot of colder temperatures. It's good against moist to keep you warm in a moment. You will still get wet, but that's the multifunctionality about it, and you can use it as a part sleeping bag, so you can rest somewhere in an abandoned building, and you do not have to take out a whole sleeping bag or a blanket. And when you hear something you need to get out, you can just keep this on, take your bug out bag and just run away with it. So that's also a good benefit about woolen greatcoats like this. I will take it off now because it's very hot in here. Like I said, it's a little bit heavier, but it's a good price to pay for the multifunctionality and the space that you can save in your bug out bag. Alright, we'll start with the bug out bag. Now, what do I put in the bug out bag first? Well, I always keep 2 canteens of water in it, always filled. Why 2? Water is very, very important during a hike and during a bug out. Sometimes you do not know where the next water source will be. So I always take 2 metal canteens. Why metal canteens? Because these I can use to cook water over a fire with it. And as you can see, each one of those have a little bit stuck. One of these camels that you can cook some dinners over a fire. So that's also a good benefit about it. Or you can cook water on multiple camels like this. It's not really necessary to have 2 of these, but I find it more handier to cook water and at the same time cook perhaps food, and both out of metal. So I know it's a little bit heavier, but in contrary to plastic bottles, which are perhaps lighter, you cannot cook with those, and if you let them fall, they will break easily. With metal, I don't have that problem. Like I said, I will take some extra weight if it has multifunctionality to save other weight. So water bottles, always very important to have water, not only for drinking, but also for cooking and for sanitation, perhaps for dressing wounds like burning wounds, cleaning wounds, perhaps some sanitation to clean your hands, clean your face or tooth or whatever. Another thing that I keep in the site is sunglasses. Why sunglasses, you would say? Well, it's like I said, it's multifunctional. You can use this not only for the sun, because during long hikes and if you have to walk in the direction of the sun, yeah, that could be very bad for your eyesight. But also when you do tasks like chopping wood or breaking glass of a building, if you get a shard or a splinter into your eyes, that could be very bad, especially during a bug out situation. So this is also usable as eye protection. So that's the multifunctionality of sunglasses in that kind of situation. And perhaps during if you're going to take a nap and other persons are on guard watch, but you have problem with sleeping on the day because of the light, you can use this as a little bit how do you say this? People who use blindfolds to sleep during the day, like on the planes. That's also a use that you can do with it. Just wallet with your information. I would say always keep it close to you that you can just take it out directly. Multi-tool. Always have a small multi-tool of good quality with you. You can do many tasks, small tasks and even big tasks with it. These are not really necessary, but I like to keep them in a deck of cards, just if you are with somebody else, to have a little bit during a time like before sleeping or bonding or some other moment you have to kill time because you have to wait on certain things. Perhaps you can play some cards with your fellow bug holders. And a chip in a plastic case. Why? This chip contains the pictures of my official documents of bank, insurance, property deeds, and all those important information that you will that you can lose, especially if they are paper. And that way, if you're going as a refugee in another country, you have all your information with you in case your house gets burned, robbed, stolen, or flooded, that everything is destroyed. So that's something that you need to watch out for. That's the outside. thought I had to compress, but whatever. I will now open the full bag. Oh. I will first go open the lower deck. So what do we have here? Here we first have a rain poncho. Yeah, this rain poncho, you can use, what I like about the rain poncho instead of a raincoat is you can put it all over your body and your bug out bag at the same time, so you do not get wet. If you only have a raincoat, your bag will get wet, will take some moist, will get more heavier, and it will be more exhausting to go through. This you can just take out and put it over you, and it has like I always like to do, it is multifunctional. It is camoed, so you can be a little bit more hidden from far away. You can use it as a one-person tent, like if you're going to take a nap, you can throw it, especially when you do not find shelter, you can put it over you and take a nap against a quick nap that you can run away in case of danger. Or you can improvise it as a tarp or a one-person tent with a stick in the middle, and that way you have an improvised shelter in a way. And if you want to collect some extra rainwater during a hold-up in a shelter, you can spread it open, let the rain fall, and collect it in the middle to get more drinkable water without using any filtering system or boiling if you prefer. Next thing is, it is a tarp, a very lightweight tarp that is 6 to 4 meters in a surface area, which is very high. And I always use this in case with my sleeping bag hammock, which you will see in a minute. But with this you can make, with a little bit, it's very light, it can be very compressed, and that way you can make a big shelter to do a lot of things, or you can make shelters from even the side, so you have a windscreen. So yeah, a good small lightweight tarp is something that you always can use for several reasons. Yep, this can be used. We'll open these sides because I don't know how much time I still have. Right. First of all, I always like to keep a woolen sweater in my bug out bag. Why? Because when it's very cold, like extreme cold, like winter temperature, I always like to have this one extra to put under as an extra layer, and even when it gets wet, it still keeps you a little bit warm, which what I like about wool. Wool is one of those wonderful materials, although it's a little bit heavier. Like I said, I like it because, yeah, it's multifunctional in a way, and it's very good material. And lightweight materials like those thermic, those thermic clothing that you see that are very lightweight. Yes, they are lightweight, but I do not like them for several reasons. First of all, when they get wet, they get useless. So the moment you sweat a little bit too much, or you walk in the rain and you have a leak, or you sit on a wet underground, it gets wet, it loses all of its insulating properties. Second, because it's made out of plastic kind of materials, it will burn if you sit too close to a campfire. You will have the problem that it can burn, and it will burn very fast. You do not want that. With wool, you do not have that problem. So yeah, that's all, and it will tear very easily. This wool, it will not tear that easily. In contrary, the great coat that I showed you is from 1976, so it's very old, and it's still in top condition without a few cuts that are perhaps so tight, but it's still in top condition. You cannot say that from the modernest materials, jackets. Yeah, if you take good care of your material, they will last a long time, but this I was very surprised about. Alright, next thing, well, we'll go from top to down. A hatchet. Yeah, always, especially for a long duration, I would say get a hatchet, especially this one. This one is very lightweight, small, and it has a hammer option and of course a hatchet option. I like this because you can chop wood or make shelter very easily. It's good as an improvised self-defense tool perhaps. And what I also like is If you're going to improvise rope from nettles, you can chop this into a piece of wood, and it will be stuck like this. And then you can take the nettle and you can use the sharp edge that is now in place, like to make rope improvised. So you do not have to use too much rope if you're going to make a longer duration shelter. So an axe is always handy to have for several tasks, and also for knocking in a window if you want to enter into an abandoned building. All right, next thing. Yeah, this is something that I would put in during a long duration situation, and that is an air rifle. Why an air rifle? To hunt small game like small, how do you say this? Small mammals. Yeah, small mammals, birds. With this, you can take them out instead of relying on traps or perhaps some bigger weapon. Why an air rifle pistol? Because, like you can see, it was very concealed. So it will not be that visible for authorities when you pass certain checkpoints, and also a little bit for self-defense. If somebody is an aggressor or somebody who tries to rob you, and you have this and you point it at them, even though they will know it's only an air rifle, it will still hurt like a mother effer. And the thing is, I like an air rifle because another point I want to make is you cannot always take a real rifle with you because of authorities, perhaps because you cannot get a gun permit, or you do not have the finances to buy a real gun. So those are all things reasons why you can use an air rifle. And another thing is an air rifle has a lot of ammo. So with only this small thing, I have 250 shots. With this extra one, because I always like to use a hollow dum-dum and just a straight point for longer distances, or for a big kill for some smaller game, some bigger game, to get a direct kill shot or at least mortally wound them. So yeah, you have with each of these boxes 250 shots. So that's a lot of game birds that you can hunt during your bug out scenario. So an air rifle is very underestimated for a lot of preppers, and yeah, for us Europeans, it's not that easy, especially for a civilian, to get your hands on a real gun or to transport it. All right, next thing. It is the hammock, the how do you say this? Sleep sack hammock, which is just like a hammock, but you can close it like a sleeping bag. And if you sleep in this with the tarp that I showed before, it's a good shelter. It will, of course, in combination with the woolen jacket, it can keep you very warm and dry during the night with less effort. You can set this up within 5 minutes or less, depending on the location that you choose, to put up a tarp, put up the hammock, and just to get in there with something warm during the night. So yeah, and it has also nets against mosquitoes and other insects. So during summertime, this can save you a lot of insect bites. So that's a very good choice to make, and I like it. I like it a little bit more, to be honest, than my sleeping bag on tent on the ground, because the ground takes a lot of your heat away, or in case it gets moist, or when there is a little bit too much rain, like I said during the hike, a little bit flood, that could be problematic. And with this, you're off the ground, so you do not have to be scared of rats or some other small animals that could crawl into your bag while you're sleeping, or tear it open for the food. So that's something handy you can do. All right, next thing, gloves. Yeah, I always keep some gloves with me. These can serve several purposes: to keep your hands warm, even when it's raining or snowing very hard, because these are military gloves. These have a trigger finger on them, so you can do some small task with it. And it's to protect your hands during like chopping wood. You do not want to get friction burns while handling wood, or if you grab wood, that it will make cuts that might infect. And especially during a long-term bug out, you do not want that. All right, next thing. This is one of those emergency radios. I like this because these are very multifunctional. These can you can gather information with them from from Belgium, I can and reach radio senders from France, England, it sometimes even Spanish, German, all those. It has a great range, is what I'm saying. It has a flashlight, it has a big light. If it's on auto, okay, yeah. Wait a minute. It has a flashlight, and it has a big flashlight, and it's all LED, so it's very conservative with the precious battery life. And another thing is you can do signaling with it. You can it has a little solar panel lights. You can charge it with a dynamo handle, and it's also a power bank. So if you have some other things that needs to be charged, you can charge this manually during breaks, and you can connect it with something that need to be charged, and that way it's a small power bank. And another benefit of it, it has a little eye, and the moment something or somebody walks in front of it, this will start to how do you say this? Start to flash, and so it's also sort of alarming or early warning system in case you get somebody at night tries to approach your sleeping ground. So that's something that I always find handy. It has also an SOS signal application to it. So yeah, these are all good things you can do with this small emergency radio, and just it can also be fun to listen to the radio as a sort of entertainment if the situation allows it. So for music, so that's something handy for keeping up morale. Um, Another thing is a bivak hat, balaclava perhaps is the thing. Like I said before, wool all the way. I always like wool, and I like this because it's multifunctional. Because during the night, especially with the greatcoat, you can wear this, and your face will be kept warm even during the bug out, during the walking. You can keep this on your head, and your face will be warm even during extremely cold winter situation. And in case this is a little bit too warm or a little bit too high profile, you can just roll it up, and that way you just have a regular hat. So that's also very handy, not only for sleeping but also for protecting you against the weather elements. All right, where were we next? This is something that I like. This is just a box with reserve tea light candles, and some roll with plastic bags, because plastic bags can be used to store water, perhaps to put something in it, or to put around something to protect it against moist, or to take with you to leave no trace behind. So extra tea light candles are handy, especially for this Yuko tea light handle. Like you can see, I will open it. I always keep a stack of these inside it to save space, because otherwise this would be empty space. But you can put it down, and it's a small lantern. So in case you're at sleeping somewhere like a bivak or in an abandoned building, with this you can walk around and have a light. Or if you're going to make a fire, you can just light this, and when you're making the kindle, you can use it as a sort of light protection to light up the kindle with the candle or the tinder. So that way you can make a fire with it, you can make light with it on a very good way. And the top is also has a metal plate on it. So if you have a small mug, which you will see in a minute, you can place the mug on top of it, and it will keep your coffee or your tea or your soup warm, even though you do not the campfire might be out or something. So that's also something very handy to keep in your bug out bag. I like this very much. All right, next one. Where are we now? Oh yeah, the mug. Always, in my mug, I place some a glass pot with some rice, white rice. So yeah, white rice is one of those good things that you can store for a very long time, and it gives good energy, and you just have to boil it. But I prefer a mug to heat it up, to make boiled water, perhaps in a case of emergency. But I do have my camels for this, but I prefer this for just making tea on the side and keep it warm with a Luco lantern. Next thing, there is so much. I will use this. This is another thing, a pot with more rice. yeah, I'm a little bit of a rice guy, so so I always like rice because it gives a good it gives a lot of energy for a very cheap price for the amount of rice that you take in volume. So yeah, with this amount of rice, I can go a very long time. I would dare to say I can even go 2 weeks on this rice alone during a bug out. I'm a person who does not eat does not need to eat a lot, and in contrary with what I have for reserves and with the pellet gun to hunt small game, I will be sufficient. I will have sufficient and varied food sources during the bug out. Is what I'm trying to say. All right. Next thing, a live straw. Very handy to have a live straw in your bug outs because I have another filter that I use to fill up these water bottles. But in case of emergency, you can get some water this way. You can of course put some water purification tablets in it, but this is big enough to just put in the drinking bottle and drink right out of it without the need to boil it or to purify it. That's perhaps handy when you have a water source that you cannot stick around too much long for, or you do not have the time to purify it on another way. So a live straw is something that you can use directly, or you do not have to take out your metal water bottle out, like you have your backpack on and you walk, you see a water source, but you do not want to take it out and refill it later again. You can just go to the water source, drink it straight away, and your thirst is gone for a time, for a while, without losing the reserves of water that you have in your bug bag. All right. Next thing is a survival knife. I prefer the Glock knife because it's multifunctional. It has a good balance. It has some sawing tooth. It's very thick, so you can, like you can see, you can grind it. You can sharpen it with a metal block that I put on this. So this is a reserve tape around it, and at the same time, it's to sharpen the knife at the moment. At the moment from the sheet. So yeah, it's very sturdy, and yeah, it's it's a good way. And I also keep some nylon wire wrapped around it. So with this knife alone, I can do a lot of things without always taking it out and in out of my bag. So yeah, a good survival knife. You can do a lot with it. Next thing. A shovel. I Yeah, for a long term situation, bug out situation, I would advise to get a shovel, a folding shovel. You can have one of those smaller shovels, but I prefer this kind of a shovel that you can that is a little bit more sturdier. But I prefer, like I said before, I trust the weight when it's multifunctional, because with this I can create a lot of different types of how do you say this, shelters. Perhaps I can dig latrines with it to keep sanitation and sickness and bugs out of the way. I can and dig a Dakota campfire hole with it. If you do not know what it is, it's a very good way to make a fire that is low profile and hard to see and from outside, and it creates less smoke. So I would say look it up. Perhaps I will make a video about it, about Dakota fire pits. So yeah, and it's also a good defense tool, because Marines in the American Marine Corps uses to train with this as a melee weapon with deadly effect. I can assure you, if you get hit with this and it has a very good grip for it, yeah, it will not be a good day for the aggressor in that situation. All right, next thing. It is just a Canadian Hiker Pro water filter. It's just one of those pumping filters. You put a bulb. You have to connect them, of course. You put the bulb inside of the water source. You just start to pump, and you can fill with the other part your canteen with it, or your more multiple canteens or other containers you have. This actually uses a sort of replacement filter after this amount. So yeah, this is good for a long time situation, but not for eternity, is what I'm trying to say. All right, after put this a little bit on the side. Next one, yeah, a bulb with nylon wire. This is a lot of wire. you can keep in your bug out bag for making shelter, fishing line because it's very strong, to as a sort of suture for, yeah, not really wounds but for suture tiered clothing to keep it warm. Yeah, this is very light, has a lot of wire instead of perhaps using how do you say this, paracord perhaps, which will take a lot of more spacing, but I like this way. And if you can see, I always like to put a few nails in it just to so I can knock it with the axe in the tree to create a more sturdier or perhaps more elaborate shelter. And you can retrieve the nails afterwards. All right, next one. This is my just how do you say this, first aid kit, that you can just open it so you have direct action, direct possession to whatever it is that you need. It's just the basic stuff, you know, bandages, a little multi-tool, water purification tablets, cat tourniquet in case there is a very severe bleeding, Israeli bandages, which is between a tourniquet and high pressure bandages, and you can reuse it if you boil it again to keep it clean. That's why I like it is, and just some tape, emergency blanket to keep somebody warm, medication like activated coal, aspirin, iodine tablets in case there is a nuclear accident or something, and some other small bandages. So yeah, this is just a basic kit, and also some disinfecting alcohol. So always keep those in your just a small first aid kit, because during a bug out you will need to take care of yourself in case you get a wound, because it's sometimes hard or perhaps not even possible to get to direct professional help. So always have some first aid skills for it. I will have to hurry up because the video is almost running out. These are several maps, topographic maps from the country. I mean, there are several maps in this, like you can see, and these are actually a few because I do not know where I should end up with it. There is a map from just Belgium, a general map for the most places, but there is also a map of Europe in case I need to go abroad as a refugee, and there is two maps which are more in depth. These are maps that will not only look to place names, but also to how do you say this? These are topographical maps, like you can find the heights, the different heights, the roads, forests, water sources, rivers, and all those smaller details are in these maps. So yeah, during your bug out you can find the closest routes, you can estimate how long it will take, estimate it very much better, and find several water sources that you might encounter on your way, or fishing grounds in case you want to hunt. Alright, something other small. A spoon. I always find it handy to have a spoon. Whatever you make, a spoon could always be handy. And yeah, it's also, perhaps if you can see, a good signaling tool if you want to be a little bit more multifunctional. You can open cans with these, also very handy. I made a video on how to open cans on an improvised way. You can use a spoon to open a can and pry it open without spilling too much. Yeah, so a spoon is a lot of uses. Next, this is just a general kit to make to keep everything dry. I will open it and perhaps you can better see what's inside of it. Like I said, it's for long term, so I have some additional food sources in this. These are vitamins because perhaps during a long term bug out scenario you will not find all the vitamins because perhaps it's winter time, there are not that many plants, or some other persons who are also on a bug out have taken certain plants that you can get some vitamins, or in case there is somebody who has a problem with their vitamin or deficiency, just some multivitamins can never hurt, especially during a long term bug out scenario where there is less food, like during a famine or something. Could be always be handy. Matches, always to keep them dry, always handy. Another way to make fire is with a striking steel, just to make a spark. But also a lighter just at least 3 ways to make a fire and in for a long time, and it is for in case the lighter and the matches are gone too. So yeah, it is something handy to have in. Another cardboard matches. What do we have here? These are some paper towels, just for the first for especially in the beginning, perhaps for how they say this, to wipe your behind as long as you can to keep it a little bit clean over there. Another thing, I will start with this. A can of fishing tuna, not tuna, and how do you say this? Mackerel fillet, which is fish in oil. So yeah, this is something that you can eat just cold, but it's something that you also can boil and eat and make an improvised candle with it with the oil that is left over. So it's a good source of protein and fats. Another thing, some olive oil to get more, which is a lot of calories that you can boil some how do you say this? So cook some wild game with it. This is lemonade powder. You can with this only you can make 10 liters of lemonade during a bug out, which can be handy as a sort of treat or as a fuel, as a fast energy boost. Um, this is soap. This is soap without glycerin, so you can not only wash your body and your hands with it, but you can also wash your clothes with it, which is very handy if you get dirty or muddy during a bug out scenario. So always have some way to keep everything clean. There's another can of tuna, which is very light. Another thing, these are 2 emergency rations. These contain every one of these contain 2,300 calories. It's divided in 9 bars in each packaging. It's a sturdy packaging. It's GMO free, vegetarian, and lactose free for those people. It can be stored for 20 years, which is very good. And in case when you have infants, you can crush the powder, mix it with water, and that way you can feed it to very small infants as a sort of, is porridge? Yeah, I think porridge is the good English name for it. But you can feed it to very small infants with this, and yeah, it's for picky eaters. It does not have a particularly taste, and with this, with only one of these bars, I could survive. I survived a 87-kilometer hike of 4 days in nowadays not really mountainous but hill kind of forest terrain. So 4 days without this in harsh conditions, and I still could make it with this. So with this I can live 8 days of it. So yeah, the video is almost done. So here's some milk powder, which also can be used for small infants to feed them perhaps. But milk powder is something that I always like to keep in my bug out bag because it's very source. It has a lot of vitamins, calories, and yeah, some other good stuff for you. Yeah, here's a can of how do you say this, luncheon meat, which is very how do you say this? You get a good amount of meat for the volume, and the calories that are in this are good to take you with you on this bug out bag. So yeah, for the meat eaters, this could be very interesting to if you foraging some wild edible plants. This could be make a little feast out of it, especially during a long-term bug out scenario. This is maple syrup. Yeah, these are just a lot of calories in small packages, like which I like to do with the other powders and fluids that I told about. Tea, I always prefer to. Yeah, you can make a lot of tea with just 3 bags if you are very conservative with it, or you can keep tea in your second water bottle and keep regular water in the other bottle if you are want to drink some regular tea. So yeah, tea is good for everyone, and it is one of the last food items, and it is honey, but real honey. I always keep it in some plastic. Why? Because I do not trust the lid. When it opens, all the honey will be spilled, and it's a matter of effort to get honey out of a bag if it's run out. So yeah, honey is a very good source of a quick sugar. So you put it in tea, coffee. You can just eat it like that. and you can also put it on wounds to put an antibacterial layer on top of wounds so they would not infect. Honey is also a good way to keep a little bit healthy, like with coughing if you get a little bit sick, if you want to keep quiet during a bug out. Yeah, honey, real honey, by the way, not the cheap syrup stuff from stores. Always keep honey, and with this especially you can do a long time and a lot of energy. Like I said before, this is for a very long term bug out scenario. It's not for something with 3 days. I'm talking about weeks. Going to your bug out location. I must hurry because I only have a few minutes of uh, movies left. Like I said before, I would either choose between this or between the long coat to have to put in my shelter. So yeah, if this was out, I could fit even more stuff in it. So yeah, a sleeping bag like this, or wrap yourself around in a woolen blanket like this. Yeah, the option is equally good in my opinion. So yeah, I could put this in, or I can put this in. So I can, in case of an alternative situation, I can choose to take this or take this and have more room to put something else inside of the backup bag. All right, I think I'm through. I forgot. Oh yeah, I forgot. Now that I mention, now that I see open it again, I forgot my compass to put my compass in with the maps. So that's a good lesson we can learn of this. If you regularly open your bug out bag and see the contents, you can see what you need or forgot, or you can adapt or change. But I see that the video of my camera is almost running out. So I would say thank you for watching. If you have any other ideas to put in a bug out bag, beside that what you saw here, let me know in the comments. I'm always eager to learn or get other tips from other people. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and see you in the next video. Cheers!